Hello everyone, this is my second video about Google Maps, and in the first part we covered how we can set up the Google Maps for your React app with Typescript. And as you may remember, I had a problem at the end of the video, and in this video I'm going to show you how we can solve this problem, actually what really happened there. And I will also show you how you can create markers on your map. And yeah, we will just get to know some of the other commands that I would like to show you, and then you will see how you can create and customize your own markers on your Google Map component. But before that, let's have a recap. And we created a map component, React map component here, and it gets two parameters. And here we start the map, and I created a function like called default map start. So that is set to coordinates of somewhere in Norway, because I live in Norway. And but actually the real part, tricky part, is happening under the init map function, and where we define like the zoom level, etc. And the render part of our function is quite short. So let's run this and see what actually the problem was. I'm starting my application with npm start. So by default, the React applications, they start with localhost 3000, and as you see, it says in Norwegian something went wrong. The reason is actually why I had this problem was because of my Google Maps API key. And because my Google Maps API key, that unfortunately I cannot show you because it's completely confidential, and so this key is set to run on port 8443, but it is running on 3000, which is not correct, so therefore it's failing. So we're going to make a change here, and I'm going to write into my start function just to start it at port 8443. I'm going to save it, and if I go back to Chrome and refresh the page, it doesn't work. Why? Because of course I have to restart the command, because the changes that you make on package.json will not be reflected to the application immediately, so you have to restart the server. So I'm doing that now, and now we are running on localhost 8443. So this is what I wanted to show you in part one, but so with that little fix we managed to finalize the setup of our Google Maps. So by default we have this like zoom in and zoom out functionality, and I remembered that I had set the interface to Norwegian, so and we see Norge, Sverige, etc. But right now our map doesn't do much, and we also have a console error. So it says error while trying to use the following icon, blah blah. So it's like this is a file problem, and I don't really care about the logo of my application. So then we should go to first to public folder, and inside index.html, yeah, logo 192.png. I'm just going to remove this, so I don't want it. And do we have now another error? Yeah, we have the same stuff, and the reason for that is also like we have similar reference also under manifest.json. I'm just going to remove all of these, so we don't need it, and then we can have a clear console. Voila, so we got it. So we just got rid of our console problem, and now we are ready to program our eye marker. I want to create, like in my app, I want to create markers, right? And I will define a new interface, like similar to my IMAP interface. I'm going to create a new interface for marker, and I want to keep like interface eye marker. So what would I what would I store in an iMarker sort of object? So of course I need the address, which will be in string, and I want the latitude of the clicked area, and it will be a number, because as you may recall, we use here like latitude, longitude object, and these are like double floating number, and and then we will do the same for longitude here, and that will be of course also a number. So I'm going to use this iMarker while I'm defining actually a hook which will store the information about my iMarker object. So let's define it here. So we call it const, and I'm going to set it like marker, set marker, and of course I assume that you are fluent in React hooks while following this advanced course, since programming Google Maps with TypeScript and React, it's not like really easy job, and usually like most of the courses that you find on YouTube, they usually introduce you some node module, but this course is for people who want to do everything by themselves and not to be dependent on a node module that's created like some third-party code. So, and I think it's quite smart, because it's not good that your code base gets dependent on another project. Of course, we cannot stop it. Sometimes we have to create some we have to use some third-party code, but Google Maps is a bit crucial, so I'm going to show you how we can continue. So we have an interface and we have a hook now. So we can store with the set marker hook the data that we're going to get. But what are we truly trying to do here is, what I want is that when the user clicks some location, I want to put a marker here, like a symbol icon, and I want to get from Google Maps service the location of the place, which means that I want to get the address, longitude and latitude data and save it to my hook, right? So to do that, we need to first create an event listener. So the thing actually I don't really like about Google Maps is, okay, we are programming here something modern, we are using React and TypeScript, but we still have to write some vanilla JavaScript like event listeners. So I find it actually a little bit controversial, but this is the way that it should be. So let's create this event listener. So it will be like, I will call it init event listener, and I'm going to create and it will not of course return anything, so I call it like return type is void. Sorry. So we create an arrow function here. So what can we do with that? This event listener should be checking the click event, right? But this click event actually should be like sort of running when a use effect comes into power. So, and that happens like usually most of the time when you do something with your map, your map hook will be updated, so that will trigger your init event listener. So that's why I added a use effect here. So, and then of course if the map is not valid, we should not be setting up a listener. So I check if the map is there, and then the tricky part comes. Google.maps. I'm trying to reach for the function add listener, and that will take as first parameter the map hook, and we have the click event, right? Then our function comes in. So we have, I just did it like a classic way. So what am I going to do in that function here? So what we do is we create this event listener, and whenever you click on the map, it will run a function, and this function has an object. It's like typical event, event. So I want to use this to retrieve some data. Okay, maybe we can take a look how does this, if I don't remember if it will give us anything valuable. So I'm clicking somewhere. Yeah, it gives us this yeah, some coordinates, and but it doesn't really making much sense. We have like this lat longitude functions in it, so we have actually all we need in that yeah, event object, but this is not helping. So what I want to do is I need to retrieve the coordinates from this, right? So imagine that I have a function here. It's called coordinate to address, and this function will take as a parameter like this a dot latitude lng longitude data from it. So this is like the coordinate function, I would call it like this way. So this is like this Google let lng type that I described. So because everything comes with some library definition here, so it is not easy to call it. So that's why I created this type in the part 1. So then we should basically write what we should do with this function, right? So it will be, of course, a const function. So I'm going to use the same name, and it will be yeah, getting something called, I will call it coordinate to make it easier for us to understand. So we are like referring to the same type, that custom type that I created here. So it's actually Google. You can write Google Maps .lng, but I think it's more readable this way. And we create as another function, of course. So here I'm going to introduce you a couple of new functions from Google Maps library. So first we need to use to retrieve the address, for example, or the coordinates. You need to use the geocoder of Google Maps. So I will create a const which is called geocoder, and it will be actually a new object coming from Google.maps, and can you guess what it will be? It will be Google Maps geocoder, of course. So it's like, makes sense. So the thing is, since this is sort of it is actually an API call, what we are doing. So our function should be an async function. So because, I mean, the data doesn't come to you in instantly, we are going to the server and we are retrieving data from there, and then we are using it. So that's why this geocoder, this coordinate to address, it should be an async function, and the command that is actually retrieving the data, we will use this await command. And I'm going to use now my geocoder const, and this command call is already like my WebStorm is suggesting me to use geocode. So this is like tricky part, so you don't have to, of course, memorize all of this, but it is difficult while you are developing Google Maps. Like you have to find out, you go to the manual and you go to set Stack Overflow, but that's what I'm doing in this course. I'm giving you all of this knowledge for free and easily. So this geocode function, maybe we can check it here. So what does it take? It takes some request and callback and then the status. So what we will do is that we will send, because we didn't use our coordinate, we will give our coordinate into coordinate variable that I'm getting actually this. And I'm going to, maybe I get bigger font. So it is called as location. So I'm giving this into Geocode and I'm going to create my callback function. So this callback function will return us two variables. One of them is called, yeah, it already suggested here, results and status. So, and we are going to use them. Put a semicolon here. So we give this latitude longitude object and then we use it here, and at the end this is like our result part. So what are we going to do with these results? First, we have this like Geocoder Status, and of course we need to make sure that our status is okay. So I'm checking it here. So where it should be like okay, like this literally. And so of course I'm not going to implement here like else if status is something else, like the exception part. So you do it yourself when you are doing something for business. But we're just going with the like the positive case. So let's say we sent the coordinate and now we are waiting for the status. Status is okay. So what? So what we need is actually in like results part. So what we can do is console log results. As you see here, it's an array. It's Geocoder result array. That's the type of the results. So since that's an array, I can get the first item and it is returning us the type, like WebStorm is suggesting me, because I installed in the previous video that the types into it. So I'm going to use formatted address. So that will help us to see where we clicked actually. So if you look at the console, it's somewhere called Maze Norge. This one, unnamed road. Let's click in Finland. Yeah. So we get the data from Google Maps server, but we need three things, right? Okay, let's also console log this. I think we are not getting this from here, but because we have the coordinate, right? Console.log coordinate.let. You remember these functions that I showed you from this event object? So we can see here coordinates the same way .lng, and so each time I click, yes, I see latitude, longitude, and this string formatted address. So now I have actually, I'm going to delete this. So now I have all I needed. So I wanted to have an address in the iMarker, latitude and longitude of the place that I clicked. So how did we do this? Is like we have this init event listener, and we are adding an listener whenever the map is updated. So, and we are returning this e.lng to a function where I'm actually getting the coordinate to address. But I want to do here something else. I want to set, because now I have all the data that I needed. So I'm going to set marker. And how will it be? Because we are having sort of, you know, object here. So we have these three attributes: address, which is a string. Oh, too much chaos here. Okay, now it will be this way. This is my address, formatted address. And I have latitude. Oh, I wish I didn't delete my console logs. So that's coordinate.lat and longitude. For some reason I'm having this warning from, yeah, now it disappeared. So we get LNG. Okay, so this will update my marker hook, right? Shall we check it? Actually, it's completely redundant, but if I check the components map, where is my hook? Yeah, it's here. So it just got, yeah, it's keep changing. So my marker hook is okay. So we managed to actually, now things are working in theory, and but we need to implement more. So because we want to do, we want to add the marker, right? So how can we do that? Then we will use the marker data to do this. So I will create, of course, a new function with use effect, because now I have the marker being updated. So I need to have use effect which is following the updates on the marker. So that would help me. So if I call it use effect, and let's say we will have a function call, it will trigger a function called add single marker, and then we put here marker. So whenever marker is updated, we will start this. So I'm defining now my add single marker function. So that will not return anything also. You don't have to do this, but I'm just, I don't know, I'm a little bit obsessed with typing because we are writing Typescript, so that's why. So if we have that will do something else. So because I want to create this function like referring to actual another function, but I'm just doing this type here, but I will explain later why I'm doing it this way. It's just for scalability of the project, because I'm planning to make more videos. For you, I'm just going to build this map further with the new features. So that's why I wanted to actually have this function called add single marker. Because I will have a more generic function which will be called, of course, simply add marker. So maybe I have a question like, why is he calling that add single marker? Because if we in the future create another function like add multiple markers, if we decide to use multiple markers on the map at the same time, so then I can just call this in a for loop with an array of markers like markers hook, and then that would help me. So that would create like the reusability of our project. So this add marker, like this like core function, it will get a latitude longitude object. And the way that we do this in Google Maps with TypeScript is like this way. You Google Maps .lng, and this one requires here a latitude and longitude, as you see here in this pop-up. So we have those data, right? We have those variables. So we have them in our marker hook dot latitude. So now longitude part is highlighted. We do the same, marker dot longitude. So no wrap, I don't know what it is. So, and it's an optional parameter. So you should just read the manual to do this. And maybe we can do that here. No wrap, what does it mean? Creates a let long object representing geocoin, not the ordering of. Set no wrap true to enable values outside of this range. Okay, I don't care for now. So this is like a more advanced functionality. So we will send this latitude longitude object into our add marker function. And add marker function can be very short and also it can be very long. And because this is the place where we will add all the custom custom look of your icon of the marker that you are creating. So I'm just going to create this add marker, and as you will recall, it will get a, I call it location, my custom type, which is this. Actually, all of this is Google let long. So that will not return anything, so it's void, and we do the arrow function here. So how do we do this part? So we should have, actually we will use this, we will create another object, but this time we will create it from like this way, like new google.maps. So can you guess what I will call it? Marker. So it's like this straightforward thinking of Google Maps is like, okay, I'm creating a latitude longitude object like Google Maps latitude longitude, creating a marker, Google Maps marker. So, and then you can try to see if you have fantasy, so you just spend time with the manual. So the thing is, you have to always read the manual to learn new things about Google Maps, or you have to watch the videos like this one. And so this part is tricky because this function can be, the line of attributes here can be so long. You can do anything you like with your icon, how it looks, how it behaves, where you position it, do you rotate it, what color you use on it. So we will this is like a JSON object, and then so we will create those variables. I'm just going to fill it in, but for now I'm going to also like assign the returning value. For this video it will be completely useless, but I want it to be returning to some value, so that will be a marker, right? So actually I could have created a new type here, because that will be this. So it will be a type of Google Maps marker. So I'm going to create this custom type. So type Google marker and google.maps.marker. Yeah. So if I use this instead of that, that will be good. So we, as you see, it is it's pale. So because I'm not using it anywhere yet, but not today, I'm not planning to use it also right now, but I'm just, maybe in the future we do something about that. So when I extend the functionality of add marker, so the first attribute we will see is the position. Of course, the position will be the location. So WebStorm already guessed that. When I will write it again and show you. Position, when I do this column, it says, did you mean location? Yes. So, and it wants to know what map you are using, which is our map hook that we are using. So it knows what map it's referring to. And now the tricky part comes. So we have this icon attribute. That one it will be like something like this. So we will have like the fill color and then blah blah. But I don't want to give this because this line like sub object, it gets very long. So, and I think it will get ugly. So that's why I'm going to create another function here. So I'm going to call it like get icon attributes. Okay. So I want this also like this function to be a bit more reusable. So I will assume that it is having it's receiving a color so that I can have different colors on my icons, right? So we just use like this a string. It's, I think, black. Yeah, it's black. I have 6 zeros here. So actually that's it. That will add my icon, but I need to get, of course, create my get icon attributes. But this is very simple. This is just knowledge, so this is not literally like coding. So what we should do is that, okay, we define a color, we expect a color, so I call it icon color, and it will be receiving, of course, string, and that will not do much, it's just for layout. So that will return a JSON object. So, and this will be like receives, like these are all attributes, like this one, they're all coming from Google Maps, they're all specific to Google Maps. So I'm just writing them. So in the path we can use actually an SVG, but I'm just going to show you like the easy way. There are like symbols, there are built-in symbols of Google Maps library, so you can use them. So I just want to get a small win here, I don't know, forward close arrow, it's like a symbol. So there are like different predefined symbols here, like backward, open, circle. I think there was even like this smiley you can put it there, but it's okay, I'm just going to pick one of them. So, and I want to define the like size of it, like with scale 10, let's say. Okay, so what we do here is like I create a function. Whenever the marker is being updated, that will also run. So that will add a new icon. And here we create a Google marker object, but this operation already adds itself the marker if I don't do any mistake. So I'm going to use icon color later. So I'm just doing the default one with very short attributes. So let's see if I click somewhere. Yes, it works. So I managed to mark some place, but we want to go further. I want you to get a little bit taste of how you can create your own SVG. I think I had a here. I saved it here. It's an SVG path. So instead of the symbol, predefined symbol, I'm just going to paste this one. So it's a long, you can also like get it from a file or something. There could be a smarter way of doing that, but I'm just going to keep it now for now. So what we do is we fill in the other attributes, like fill color. What color I want to use? I want to use this icon color. So we can do like opacity. It will be, let's say, 0.8. I don't know if it will work this way, but, and then we can have this like stroke color. which is defining like this, the edges of the icon. I'm going to actually put this is also like HTML code base, HTML color code. So I'm just going to write like pink, I don't know. So, and then we define this anchor. Again, these are all Google Maps library. I learned those things from their manual, so you have to dig in to learn new layout functionalities, and I'm just like pointing like say 30 to 50. So, and we do this label origin. If we add, actually that will be needed when we add a label on the marker, but for now I'm not doing that actually, but it's not needed. I'm not going to do that. So we don't need to scale either, because we are working with SVG now, not symbol. So let's see how it will look like. Yeah, it is actually pink, but maybe you don't see it. It's black and pink. Maybe I should get this stroke. How is it called? Stroke weight. Stroke weight. Right now I don't know how you define this. I should check the manual, but let's make it 6, like what it will look like. Yeah, now you see more pink and black together, and it looks terrible, of course. So sorry, let's make it 2. I think that's okay. Oh, keep coming. Yeah, that's not bad. So we managed to create a marker, and if I zoom in there, we can have a closer look, and it's like scaling by itself. So we see what lucky address I clicked. Actually, I could have written this. Okay, now I just did it. So when I click on the other side of the river and keep adding marker, why is that? That's very simple, because our marker, as you see, it's keep changing because we are overwriting it. So we have a new marker. So I thought maybe you should have a task. Okay, now I have so many markers in the same place. The task is I want you to like implement further on this code base, and so when you click a new marker, I want the previous one to be deleted. So it will be like this, like I click here, and then when I click here, I want to have this marker, but I want this one to be removed. So how can you do that? You try to program it on your own. Probably I will make another video, hopefully before Christmas when I have time. So I'm going to show you this, how you can do that in the part 3. And maybe with some new features, because there are so many different functionalities of Google Maps. And so until then, hopefully you learned something new, and then you can get over this small assignment that I gave you. So, and I understand it's not easy to get Google Maps API key, and just do your best to get it done. So that's like the way that I'm not able to show you my .env file where I have the Google Maps API key. So I hope you enjoyed this course, and good luck, and hope to see you soon in the next video.